In the upper right-hand corner of the assignment, you will see the grade, and beside it, a speech bubble with feedback. If you tap on that bubble, it'll bring up a link, and you can click and hold on that link, and then it's going to select it, drag the slider so that it selects everything in the link, and then choose Open Link. And that's going to take you to a rubric that I use to grade. And in this rubric, which I'll zoom in on here, let me point out a few things. Your assignment was graded out of 20 points total, and that included the molecule name, the chemical formula, and the model. For both the name and the chemical formula, I was looking to see, were you able to write it in the correct column, the right spot? If you're able to do that for both, for all 3 molecules, you got 2.5 points. If you could do that for 2 of the 3 molecules, you got 1 point, and then 0 points if you didn't get it for any of them. And the reason I did 1 point, I was looking for consistency. Were you able to do it regularly? If you really couldn't do it for at least 2 out of 3, then I put a 0 because I wanted you to have mastery, since that was a relatively simple skill, getting it in the right spot. As far as writing it correctly, you could get up to 2.5 points. That was fairly easy for the name because you're just copying it from the card. But as far as the chemical formula, it's a little trickier because you needed to write capitals for the elements, except for chlorine where it had one lowercase. And you also had to write a subscript and make sure it was a number that was below the text. So if you could do that for all 3 of the molecules, you got 2.5. 2 of the 3 was 1 point, and less than that was a 0. Probably the most involved part is the model here at the end. If you were able, again, to get the right number of the right kinds of atoms of each of the elements for all 3 of the models, then you got 3 points. If you did that for 2 of the models, then you got 2 points. And if you could just do it for 1, that's 1. And if you couldn't do it for any of them, that was 0 points. For the second part of this grading here for the model, the number of molecules meant when you were supposed to look at the coefficient, if there was one or not one, were you able to do the number of molecules correctly? So if you were able to do that for all 3 of them, you got 3 points, and then 2 if you just did 2, and so on and so forth. And finally, bonded, I just looked to make sure that when you put your elements on there, they were all connected, because the atoms, the elements have to bond in order to form a molecule. And if you got them all, then you got 4 points. But if you only did it for 2 or 3, then you got 2 points. It dropped a little bit there, just the way this was out of 20 points. I gave mastery there 1 extra point. That's why it's a 4 instead of a 4, 3, 2. It goes from 4 to 2. So hopefully that explains what you did wrong and why maybe you missed some points. Let me know if you have specific questions you want me to try to answer.